The research coming out of an AI referral traffic says these are mid-funnel people. They did their homework in a chat window before they even hit your site. They're a smaller number and they convert better. So if your site greets them like they're brand new, you've missed your most valuable visitor. And one thing we've leaned into is pulling that language straight out of sales conversations, not how marketing describes the problem, how buyers describe it when they're frustrated in their own words. What is authority and where authority is stated is not where it was 5 years ago. You can't out-publish a perception. You have to meet it. If we just keep shipping like feature pages and optimizing right past the thing buyers are actually weighing, then that's a problem. The page has to speak to the real evaluation. Here's the scale of the problem this platform is built for, and here's what it looks like to succeed with it.
Hello, everyone. Today we have with us Matt St. Peter, Director of Web and SEO at Rike. Matt, welcome to the show and excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Matt, you come with a lot of experience, even like before Rike, you have been like across various industries and you come with a solid background of SEO, web, and digital marketing. It would be great if you could introduce yourself for our audience.
Yeah, so this is going to show my age, but I got started right out of college in 2010 as an SEO analyst for a company called dealer.com, which is in Vermont, where I'm from. So I was managing SEO for car dealerships back when meta keywords was actually still a real thing that we actually optimized. And kind of look at my career in a few chapters. Back then it was, pure SEO agency work, doing SEO for Fortune 500 programs. And then I moved to San Francisco and got into an SEO role in e-commerce, working for Williams Sonoma, Pottery Barn, and West Elm. And so that changed definitely how I think of SEO in terms of how retail works. It's a whole different beast. And then the last 8 or 9 years have been pure B2B SaaS, overall website management, getting into actually looking at how the website is your strongest sales solution and affecting the funnel, and getting in more into conversion rate optimization and managing development teams. And now I'm at Wrike, which is a project management platform. And I lead our Web and SEO teams there. It's a team of 7. And obviously, a lot of our energy right now is very much on AEO, focusing on how our brand reputation and brand management is in working towards our favor through LLMs.
Matt, across the years, what changed in how you think when the website stopped being the place that SEO sends traffic and become one of the main systems for shaping demand, conversion, and revenue?
Yeah, I think like even kind of what I said in my intro, like even 2010 and even back in like 2015, like rankings and traffic and what happened after the click was something that we didn't really think about as much as an SEO leader, and that was the case for a while. But like discovery where it's happening now is people are finding you in an AI answer or in a Reddit thread or review site, and these are places you don't fully control. You might advertise there and try to boost your reputation there, but people then find you there. They're clicking a lot less. They'll type your name into a browser. Your direct traffic percentage is constantly going up, and there's real reasons for that. There's privacy laws and cookie consent eating attribution as well into that direct funnel, like dark social brand awareness. It's all kind of congregating into a place where it's not, I'm just optimizing our site and driving all this traffic, and then I can measure that into leads. It's a lot of how does a lot of the work that we're doing actually translate into awareness. And so, as I mentioned, clicks themselves are shrinking. Basically, every study that I've seen, we've all been reading is clicks just they don't matter as much anymore. They're, as your AI overviews are showing up in Google, you're fighting over that real estate with your competitors. So the website can't be the end of the funnel anymore, because the funnel doesn't start anywhere you can see. The decision starts in a chat window or a community thread, and the site has to be good enough to close a decision and never got to influence at the beginning. And that is probably the biggest change. Back to your question is that you used to have a lot more of the influence of, if I created the best content, if I have the highest domain authority, I will be able to attract the top of the funnel into my website. And now it's way different. It's way more spread out and built on brand awareness.
At Lattice, you were involved in website strategy, experimentation, and a major CMS migration. Most teams treat migration as a technical project under traffic tracking or conversion starts getting affected? Where do website migrations usually go wrong when they are not treated as a growth project from the beginning?
Yes, great question. So, yeah, Lattice, we moved from WordPress over to Webflow, and the decision was really about the team and not the technology. Lattice had invested really heavily in designers, and development was outsourced. And it was clear we needed to bring in website in house. And so the question became, what platform lets the team that we actually have do their best work? And I'll be honest, I was a WordPress guy at heart, as I'm sure most people that got their start in SEO were, and that's where my experience was. But I had used Webflow before, and I was aware of it. And frankly, for a team that's heavy on designers, it was definitely the right solution, even if it wasn't my full comfort zone. And so, where migrations go wrong, in my experience, is that everybody treats them as a technical project, and the technical part is honestly probably the most predictable part to me. The hard part is the translation. WordPress and Webflow think completely differently. How elements get built, how redirects work, everything. And we were coordinating with an external dev agency to speak the same language to our internal design team, which obviously creates a lot of issues in the way they communicate. So, what we shipped at the end of 2022, and nothing went too wrong, but we really understood and learned a lot there that migrations need to be constantly communicated in ways that are or actually let me go back. There definitely needs to be someone there to help translate that communication lever. And I tried to do that with my experience in both. And so you really need to just kind of overall protect the integrity of your website, knowing it is going to be, the place that everyone goes to kind of learn about you and find out who you are. And, being scared of those technical things is definitely always needs to happen. But if you aren't thinking about the future of how it's built and who's going to be using it on the day to day, that's where you'll go wrong. And you need your team to be fully invested and love the tool. And because we had a design team that was going to be heavily using it, it needed to be the solution that they love the most.
At Key Factor, you launched an SEO content strategy that drove meaningful year over year SEO traffic growth. A lot of teams can publish more content, but fewer can build a content system that compounds, and that too now with AI, right? What did
Uh-huh.
you focus on to make that strategy scalable instead of just increasing the output?
Yeah, great question. So at Key Factor, we grew, I think it was like 27% year over year for SEO traffic. And the honest answer is we stopped chasing volume, which is, it's worth saying out loud right now because if you talk to marketing teams everywhere, scaling content production with AI is the number one thing everyone's kind of chasing and obviously doing that right. No one wants to be hit with a bunch of cannibalization issues. But the volume problem is basically solved. Anyone can produce a ton of content now, which means volume is worth even less than it was. And what we did instead was a pretty simple concept. We picked the two or three problems our buyers were generally stuck on and went deep on, and we used a lot of our sales call information to help funnel that. We worked on creating pillar pieces and then supporting pieces and all connecting them through internal linking and making sure each new piece made the older one stronger instead of just sitting next to them. Because in security, which is the industry that Key Factor is in, every keyword is contested and the buyers frankly don't trust anything. So 50 disconnected articles get you nowhere. Output alone is like a treadmill. The moment you stop publishing, it stops working. So a connected system keeps paying after you stop feeding it, basically. And the unglamorous part is maintenance. Updating your best pages beats writing 10 new mediocre ones, and that habit has aged really well now that AI engines lean towards fresh, maintained content. At Rike, that's a lot of the work we're doing is we over the years we've created the right pieces and the right themes, but it's really about updating those and refreshing them for the modern industry and the modern way that not only search engines but LLMs are citing them.
Right. And I think working on content decay and content refresh like now is so much more important. I mean, basics are still the same. It still was important for Google, but now with so many platforms to optimize for, like refreshing content and making sure that you're kind of producing all forms of content, I think that kind of became much, much more important.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people will say, SEO and AEO or GEO are the same, and I take the opposite route. I think it's completely different. I do think your SEO principles and the ways that the true things that have kind of always been true, like writing for the user and not the search engine, and making sure that you're solving a problem and that you're doing all the things that we all know as SEO best practices are still valuable, but you have to be looking at the external factors. You have to be looking at how people are talking about you outside of the article that you wrote. And that's going to help influence how you're writing your articles really. And
Yeah,
to try to
absolutely. So
understand, like, how do you compete with that Reddit post that's comparing the 10 best project management softwares? You have
yeah,
to start
absolutely.
thinking.
Absolutely. I think, like, like consistency is so much more important now. You can't have five people talking about you as, running shoe brand for athletes, and then five people talking about a running shoe brand, for cross country and stuff like that. Like
uh
consistency now is so much important because LLMs are looking at you as an entity overall. Yeah, the basics are same, even like with Google, the EEAT and like, the topical authority, all of that stuff, the basics are same, but now the external signals have become much, much, much more important. Every year last, I think what, 7, 8 years now, people would say SEO is dead and, link building is dead. This is dead. That is dead. No, it's just evolving, like your
Evolving.
external signals, your forum, your Reddit, all of that stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
You also spend time in e-commerce and also like across, SaaS and B2B, like, you have that experience now. Now when you talk about e-commerce, right, e-commerce lets you like think clearly about the intent, category structure, and then like that's totally different, right? So what did that world teach you about search behavior that B2B SaaS teams still underuse when working on their website and content?
Yeah, so it's been a while since I was in the e-commerce world, but that was like 2015, and so I mentioned it was at Pottery Barn, and which is Williams Sonoma and West Elm as well, and it really taught me that it teaches you to respect intent because the money is right there. Somebody searching a broad category term and somebody searching a specific product reviews are at completely different moments, and a retail site structure has understood that for a very long time. Category pages, product pages, the path, narrowing the whole way down. Every wrong page costs a sale that same day. So the discipline is all kind of like built in into like very differently than with B2B. You watch companies take a buyer who's 3 weeks deep into an evaluation and a buyer who's never heard of the category, and you hand them the same homepage. It's going to take a long time to see any type of resonance, and it matters more now because of who's arriving. The research coming out of an AI referral traffic says these are mid-funnel people. They did their homework in a chat window before they even hit your site. They're a smaller number and they convert better. So if your site greets them like they're brand new, you've missed your most valuable visitor. E-commerce figured this out a long time ago, and I think B2B is going to get there too. The incentive just got a lot stronger.
Hey, we hope you're enjoying the coffee and the conversation so far. This show is powered by Digital Web Solutions, and if you've ever wondered how the biggest brands actually build authority, this is it. DWS has a massive network of over 250,000 publishers, real sites that help you rank on Google, and more importantly, stay visible in AI search. It's the heavy lifting most teams just can't do on their own. As a thank you for listening, they're offering an exclusive free strategy call just for our eCoffee listeners. It's a great way to map out your authority plan for 2026. Just click the link below to book yours and see how they can help scale your brand. All right, now let's get back to the show.
Right. Also, like with Rike, it's an interesting category where buyers are not just looking for a software, they're trying to fix a particular operational pain. In a category like that, it is easy for SEO pages to become broad and generic. How do you build pages and journeys around the buyer's actual problem instead of, just the software category?
Yeah, so the buyers we serve at Rike feel pain at a scale most tools were never built for. Complex issues that are in things like workflows, collaboration, approvals. That's really our position in the category. There are lighter tools that serve smaller teams well, and Rike is the platform you use when the work is genuinely complex, enterprise scale, cross-functional, lots of moving pieces. We also make all these things much easier with our latest AI features. So the job of our pages is meet that buyer, the one whose operational pain has outgrown the simple tool. And one thing we've leaned into is pulling that language straight out of sales conversations, not how marketing describes the problem, how buyers describe it when they're frustrated in their own words. And that content gets briefed around those words because what people type into Google or it's what people type into Google, and it's literally what they ask ChatGPT. They go right into our sales conversations with our AEs and say these things. And so pulling that information is so vital for us from a marketing strategy, from an SEO strategy, from AEO strategy. And why this matters so much to us specifically, like some of what the intent says what about Wrike is dated, and the AI engines read the same old threads and reviews as everyone else. So that's what gets surfaced. And the reality is the power that makes Wrike the right answer for complex enterprise work can read as too complex in a 5-year-old forum thread. You can't out-publish a perception. You have to meet it. So if we just keep shipping like feature pages and optimizing right past the thing buyers are actually weighing, then that's a problem. The page has to speak to the real evaluation. Here's the scale of the problem this platform is built for, and here's what it looks like to succeed with it. So that's really what we've been working on. Is if some audiences think our platform is too complex, well, we speak to how that isn't fully true, but also like why that's a good thing.
Right. I have a follow-up question there. Also, I've seen like one problem with a lot of websites or businesses. Okay, fine, you might fix the conversion rate, but then suddenly your lead quality is reducing. Like, are there any
Uh-huh.
particular tactics you're doing to kind of improve that? I know it can't be 100% solved, like you'll still have those low quality leads come in, but still, like, are you following any particular practices to improve that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing a ton of testing around trial versus demo versus contact sales. I mean, these are age-old problems that a lot of B2B SaaS companies kind of go through. And trial obviously brings a ton of people in, but demo is a little bit more of a higher ask for someone. But the quality is usually always higher. So it's finding that we're constantly kind of testing, finding that balance. And obviously conversion rate is only a metric that's as powerful as the KPI you're measuring against. Like a conversion rate for trial and conversion rate for a demo request, they're going to be way different. But what's the down funnel value? What is the actual value to our company of someone, the dollar value of someone that came in first trial, first came through demo, and what pages do you push that CTA the most? And that's really what we've been trying to figure out. And that's what's important is like, what are the BOFU pages that we continue to kind of push like you want to speak to a rep right now, you want to get a demo versus, our kind of high traffic, high generating COAEO type pages that are going to bring people in because they are trying to answer questions that might not be ready for a solution. Trials probably the higher intent CTA to go with there. So it's constant testing really, and that really goes into just like keeping our CRO strategy evolved.
You have owned experimentation across multiple roles, including demo request, conversion focused work. What separates a serious experimentation program, from a team that is just testing headlines, buttons, and page layouts because they just feel testable?
Yeah. So I really got into testing at Bitly, which was a great sandbox because at Bitly, I think it was around like 10 million visits a month were coming in just to shorten uh, URL for free, and so we really tried to learn a discipline about where can we somehow monetize that traffic, and it's all through testing. Like it had to be. It couldn't just be creating content because everyone is coming in that let's say like 99% of them are not in a position to sign up for a plan with features that are paid features that will actually allow you to promote your branded URL shortener and things like that. So we really used experimentation strategy to figure that out, whether it was on the pricing pages, product pages, things like that, and then really wanted to do a lot of we work with our our sales teams and our sales technologies to really see how much of the web visitor we could understand. That was the biggest part, was experimentation. It wasn't full on personalization, but it was really trying to understand, if we have millions of visitors, how can we deem the ones that are coming there that need a push, and are in the right mindset to convert. And so the only way to do that is through experimentation, and that's carried over into every role I've had since then. Smaller traffic with much more intended buyers, I would say, than a free URL shortener. But it's completely the tactics and the skills are very much the same. It's just like understanding who the audience is. How do you personalize or understand the personalities of those audiences? And then how are you changing the experience for them to help down funnel metrics?
Right. A website leader often has to balance brand teams wanting stronger storytelling, SEO teams wanting discoverability, and growth teams wanting conversion. When those priorities conflict, how do you decide what wins?
Oof. To me, I mean, the question is never whose priority matters more. It's what does the person on this page actually need right now. And once you frame it that way, honestly, most of the conflict just dissolves. Brand wants the story, SEO wants it findable, growth wants, the demo button, and the page can usually do all three if you build it around the buyer's situation instead of trying to solve one thing. I've been doing cross-functional web work for a long time now. Designers, copywriters, dev agencies, demand gen partners, and the fights always happen the same way. Each function optimizes its own metric in isolation, and everyone is right about their own piece of the pie. And the page gets worse when everyone's trying to kind of fight for what is most important. So it does help that when a leader comes in and can help, use data as a single source of truth around that, and that also comes with testing. But it always pushes for a worse outcome when you're kind of not sure and you want to kind of lean towards a lot of different points of view. So I think when it genuinely can't do everything, the side that moves the person closer to a decision is what's important, because that's what every one of the teams is ultimately paid for, is to really have high performance. So if you all kind of get on the same page in terms of that, and again, use data as the validating factor for some of these decisions that need to be made, where everyone has a different assumption, that's really what's going to win. And so it's on people that are in a position like myself and other team leaders to kind of use data to the best of decision making power.
But what does reporting look like in an enterprise and in a role like yours to leadership? Like, what are the metrics that you are reporting, and like how are you convincing them to invest more on AI and all these areas that everyone is still exploring?
Yes. Oh man. I think it goes back to a lot of like the old SEO metrics that I think used to bring a lot of weight, and now just they might still bring weight to someone that's not as involved in the industry, and maybe that's someone at a ELT level that teams are reporting to, that is concerned with traffic and things like conversion rate and clicks from SEO, and it takes a lot of education to kind of look at where the industry has shifted in terms of the things I mentioned, like brand awareness, brand reputation, citations and LLMs, how all those things kind of connect. And at the end of the day, you need to attribute that back to pipeline. You need to attribute that back to bookings. And that is really the hardest part, because attribution is so hard right now, with that direct bucket I talked about becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And SEO and paid and events and demand, they're all getting smaller because everyone is clicking less. Everyone is using different sources to find their information, whether it's going to Reddit, whether it's going to an LLM, and then they're going to go right to their URL bar to find you. And so putting that attribution onto trying to figure out that journey to pipeline is going to be the best thing a executive can see. They're going to need to see those touch points. They're going to need to see why Reddit matters now. They're going to need to see why LinkedIn, from an organic perspective, matters now. And that is, I think, the toughest part, but also the most important.
With off page becoming so much more important now, because now it's not just about traditional link building, right? Now, you need Reddit, you need all of these external signals. But if someone had to prioritize, like what kind of off page signals would you suggest, them prioritizing?
I honestly, I've gotten really into sentiment lately, just being a right. I think sentiment actually brings a lot of power because that's brain perception. And brain perception is not any specific team's problem. It's a company and a product problem or positive, depending on what the sentiment is. And I kind of talked about that with Rike. We are a very advanced and enterprise grade project management solution. And we are in a space that has, the Asanas and the Mondays that, are very, really well supported for smaller teams and, different types of teams than what our bread and butter is. And so we really want to see how people are talking about us and how people are finding us. And those are a lot of new metrics that someone in my role wasn't concerned with years ago. Maybe someone in an organic social role, was kind of looking at those things a lot, but it's become so much more important because that is going to lead you to the attributing of your, again, that direct bucket that's kind of coming in and becoming such a big part of your funnel. And so, yeah, the metrics that I think besides sentiment that, I'm really interested in as well is citations. You need to know what's being cited. That is the same way, the seeing what pages are being cited with LLMs is the same way we used to look at how is Google scraping our website, how is it seeing those pages, and that's going to tell you kind of like if they're deeming you as the right authority on those answers. And you get to see, oh, I'm competing with this G2 page and this Reddit page and this article by my competitor, and you get to kind of see the space is completely changing into what these platforms are deeming as authority. And that has completely shifted. But what is authority and where authority is stated is not where it was 5 years ago. And so that's where I'm leaning into those metrics, but between like sentiment, citation, brand mentions.
Looking ahead, what do you think the best web and SEO teams will be doing differently over the next 12 to 18 months that average teams will probably ignore?
Wow. I think so. Web and SEO teams, specifically that average users would probably ignore. I would say, I keep leaning into this, but I think the web and SEO teams need to be completely in lockstep with both paid and organic social. Paid search, obviously, that I think that's always been a close relationship. I think the teams that are going to be most performative are the ones that are going to be collaborating with their peers in those departments the most, because those departments are helping build the the authority that I kind of talked about that is going to then help push things to the web experience. And what pushes people to the web experience is, again, it's different touch points. It's a lot of people coming in not through traditional blue links. They saw an AI overview. They didn't click it because the links in the AI overview are very hard to even see. And they're going to go find their information through these other sources and then come to you. So where that information comes from is not just on the web and SEO team. That information comes from PR. It comes from all different sources. And so that's corporate marketing. That's, again, organic social. And so the web and SEO teams that are not siloed, that are completely in lockstep with their peers in those departments and have a joint strategy on how can we lift these metrics and sharing metrics together, sharing even the on-page A/B testing metrics in terms of understanding how the audience that these other channels are bringing in are converting. That's what's going to be most successful.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, Matt. But before I let you go, I like to play a quick rapid fire round of 3, 4 questions, if that's okay.
Okay. Yes. Sure.
All right, should we go?
Yes. Let's do it.
Window or aisle seat?
Ooh. Depends on the time of the flight. Early morning, I like window. Try to get a snooze if I can. Aisle seat if it's midday or later. So probably usually aisle.
Beaches or mountains?
Mountains, for sure.
what tool or app is saving your life at work right now? Like something like, you're like very crazy about.
Yeah. Profound. Really, we're just using it so much, and they're coming out with features every week. And it's giving us all the visibility into the AI metrics and LLM metrics that are just so important for us right now, and giving us places that we used to have blind spots, complete visibility into.
A favorite holiday destination?
Italy.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time, man. Hopefully we'll have you for another episode soon.
Great. No, it was a great time, and I appreciate it.